Hey, all my Cancer friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your March 2025 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm referring to Cancer, I'm referring to Cancer rising as the first house and dictating the landscape of the chart. This is also applicable to Cancer sun and Cancer moon, but the landscape of the chart will not be the same. If you don't know your rising sign, you can go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time of birth and location to determine that information. When I refer to a day and a time, it's based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. Now that that's out of the way, big month. We've got eclipse season starting. We are going to see Mercury and Venus retrograding in Pisces. I did a separate video on that, so please check that out. But this is very significant because there is basically a summit. In astrology, it's called a stellium, but it's a summit of planets having a conversation that's very much based on the soul and what the soul intended and wants to experience in this lifetime. We will see Neptune enter Aries. Aries is your 10th house of public reputation, of career, of status, of leadership. And it has not been in Aries since 1862. So this is going to be a big shift, and it's going to be joined by Saturn. And this conjunction between Saturn and Neptune on the world axis of 0 degrees Aries and hovering there for months before they retrograde back into Pisces is very much going to inspire and compel us to look at our history, to look at what has been erosive, to where we've escaped, to where we have denied our greatness, our co-creation, and compel us to balance that energy. So let's pull up the chart and take a look at what's going to happen. All right, so it's the chart actually starts off in the Gemini energy, but we are on Cancer. You have had Mars traveling through your first house for quite some time, since way back in 2024. And Mars is finally moving direct, we see at the beginning of March. Mars is challenged in your first house. Mars feels very much like a fish out of water. Doesn't feel respected, doesn't feel heard. Mars has had to learn how to communicate in a way that is has an emotional IQ. And that's what's been tasking Mars as it's gone through your first house. On a mundane level, you may have found yourself feeling hot about some things. You may have found yourself feeling one of the challenges of the Cancer energy, it rules the mother and the maternal experience. And often the maternal experience has a bit of invisibility attached to it. Mommy, 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 mommy. Mommy's needs aren't often met. So Mars may have brought up for you personally where your needs are not being met and you wanting to balance that energy out. We can also see up here in your 9th and 10th house, we have a bunch of planets. Again, I like to call this a summit. The sun always traverses this time of year through Pisces. Saturn is here, and Saturn has been literally compelling and demanding on some level that we be able to feel a sense of our own creation and a sense of our divinity and our expansiveness. I know that Saturn represents limitation, but this is limitation based on the material 3D world. Here, Saturn is in the expansive, transcending energy of Pisces, where it understands that thoughts are things and that the connection with the deep part of myself that lives not only within my soul, but expansively outside of this physical experience, then it becomes very strong and very powerful. That has been Saturn's whole journey, and it's not done. But here, now Saturn, now we see the North Node is conjunct Mercury. Mercury rules the way you think, the way you speak, your everyday activities. There's Neptune, the ruler of the house. These are all in a very tight conjunction. So thoughts can be, very much focused in on what has been erosive, what has been toxic, what has been difficult to deal with. And at the same time, this is giving you through the North nodes, energy, an opportunity to see things from an elevated point of view. What do the divine disruptions in my life have to offer me about a deeper truth, which I have not been addressing? Venus is stationed. She is going to go retrograde on the 2nd, and she's going to retrograde from her detriment, where traditionally she's not considered powerful because of the masculine, harsh energy, the warrior energy of Aries. I personally think that Venus has evolved and that Venus now is a co-creator, a pioneer, a brave energy that knows that as I allow for the universe to provide and I focus and use my talents and I'm aware of my being energy, my belief about what I'm endeavoring, she becomes very powerful. And here, this is in your 10th house of public status and career. So we're seeing a light up of, there's business attached, there's money attached to the 9th house. It is it's a Dharma house. It's a house that is offered reward for past life good deeds. The 1st, the 5th, and the 9th house all offer rewards. So here we're seeing the potential for reward, but part of it is doing the responsible, dutiful, almost draining work of paying attention to my mind and my self-talk. And does it complement or does it erode what I want? And am I willing to be brave in recognizing my talents and my skills beyond the applause of the audience? So here on the 2nd, I'm going to go to the 3rd, because by the 3rd, we see that Mercury has moved into Aries and Venus has gone retrograde. These two planets are going to dance around each other for the next couple of months, staying really within 3 to 4 degrees of each other. Again, constant conversation about my self-worth, about my money, about my talents, about my skills, about how I roll, in my everyday life. The 0 degree of Aries is very powerful because the 0 degree of Aries is that world access. It's the ultimate co-creative energy where the soul enters the physical for a specific journey and a journey of experiences that offer opportunities. So here Mercury is getting to capitalize on that energy, and with awareness we can use that conversation to talk to the divine, to extract the wisdom of the universe. And as Venus moves back into her exaltation, she can start to revisit some of her creative ideas and endeavors and the things that she wants to experience, even maybe some of her belief system, and expanding upon that. And I don't just mean religious beliefs. I mean her beliefs about possibilities, about good things happening, about things course correcting. On the 11th, we will see Venus and Mercury in an exact conjunction at 8 degrees in your 10th house of Aries. I'm sorry, I'm going to put a little note over this part. Okay, your 10th house of Aries. Again, I want to be clear if I messed up earlier. The highlight in this particular video and month is in your 9th and 10th house. 9th house being Pisces, where we're going to see that configuration of planets and then the movement of those planets into your 10th house, with Neptune being very specific, starting new dreams and being able to base those dreams on a soul's yearning, a soul's desire versus what you can see with your human eyes. Cancer, you are ruled by the moon. The moon not only rules nurturing, it rules intuition. And in some respects, when we collide the material with the intuitive or with the spiritual, it can be very initially deflating because we can feel a bit invisible and a bit, unappreciated. And I think that this configuration of Venus and Mercury is really about claiming the transformation, the seeing of the self that then affords the self certain experiences that then kind of set rules, boundaries, and limitations for the rest of the people in your life. So as your belief system is recalibrated, your public status very much will change in how people perceive the possibilities of what you are and what you want. We are going to have a full moon lunar eclipse on the 13th. I'm going to go to that. I'm going to do a separate video on that as well. This for me, this is at 11:54 p.m. Pacific time. This is the first eclipse on this nodal axis since it shifted. So we're seeing this moon is conjunct the south node within 4 degrees. Saturn is conjunct the sun. This very much is bringing up history of where you've been, duty, responsibilities, obligations, and a longing for the freedom of those which do not bring you joy, those where you actually feel underappreciated potentially, or you're not appreciating yourself. The sun always, in a full moon, the sun's light is reflected off the moon. Here we're reflecting off that Virgonian energy, that enslavement that we feel to our responsibilities, to our bills, to our work life. And the South Node, as it entered Virgo, is giving us an opportunity to really recognize where we have stretched for perfectionism, where it is not realistic or reasonable. It's actually almost uncomfortable. So all of this is like a continued conversation going on throughout the whole month. And the conversation is spearheaded by Venus and Mercury. Okay, Mercury will retrograde on the 15th. I'm going to go back to 12 p.m. Hopefully Mercury has retrograded already. Yes, Mercury is now retrograded, started at 9 degrees of Aries. We see, again, they're only 3 degrees apart. This it almost feels like this planetary configuration is, the Piscean energy is taking me into this place where I check in with God. I check in with my angels. I check in with the creativity that I have that helps me connect to my divinity within. When I was in the shower getting ready this morning, Spirit very much said to me that our words are the bridge between concept and manifestation. And that's what is on the docket for this retrograde with Mercury and Venus. And Saturn moving closer and closer to Neptune is really illuminating a history that has been erosive, or where government authority, the authorities that we perceive in our lives, the fears, the trepidations, the unsureness that we have, very much is being called into question. Is that still true? Do you have more power and more influence over your life than you realize? Are you a more powerful co-creator than you've given yourself credit for? And the answer is yes. Again, I'll be doing separate videos on the eclipses as they happen. Okay, let's go into, I'm going to go to the 22nd now. And that's where we see the sun has entered Aries. And it's in a conjunction with Venus. And this is kind of interesting to me, because this review that Mercury and Venus are doing as the sun comes into its exaltation, exaltation being the second highest vibration that a planet can possess and influence. So as I stand in awareness of my ego, and where my ego edges God out, or does my ego take advantage of the evolutionary of the opportunities that God offers us? Evolutionary God's opportunities, or evolving through God's opportunities. That's the way I'd like to put that. And sometimes those, the evolution comes through a bit of disruption, a bit of divine disruption. And what I think is going on here is the disruption of some of your thoughts, of how you may be wanting to revisit how people perceive you, and wanting to see yourself as a braver, more pioneering energy in your own life. And I think that this is really powerful for the Cancer energy to go from the invisible to the visible. And that starts with the visible part of yourself. And throughout this nodal axis, you will be looking at your belief systems. Here's your third house of Virgo, and letting go of any perfectionism or thoughts or repetitive actions that don't serve your soul's intention and what it's stretching for in this life, which is a revisit of your conversation, expansive dynamic within you that allows you to take your Cancerian energy and bring it into a more prominent space within your own life, meaning nurturing of the self, representing through that nurturing of the self, a balanced, intuitive knowing and trusting, a balanced energy between the me and the we, whether it be a couple or a family. And that's what's all going on right now for you. Okay. Let's go now to the 27th. Oops. Let me do this. Now, Venus has re-entered her exaltation. And she is in an exact conjunction with her best friend Neptune. And these are very interesting conversations because this is kind of like the part of the night where Venus and Neptune have had so much wine that true confessions of a Venusian soul. You know, I want to really pursue my art. I want to pursue my connection to spirit. I want to live that in an everyday life, in an everyday way. And the conversation continues on and on. And I really think that for my Cancers, this is living a more dreamy life, a more what the possibilities can be versus, you know, the Piscean energy is very fluid and it experiences things from a very emotional place. And you're a very emotional sign. And yet, because so much of your emotion is focused on other people, and we can see that Mars's transit through your first house could be really triggered with the square to Chiron. Do I get any recognition for self? Am I even seen by anyone? But I think for my Cancers, it's partially by you seeing yourself and putting you as a priority that then allows you to have more energy and more time and more influence over others. And that's the supportive energy of Mars to Saturn and loosely to this configuration. All right, on the 29th, we're going to have a new moon in Aries. That is an eclipse, partial solar eclipse at 3:57 a.m. This is the last eclipse on the Aries axis. And the new moon is always where we come together in the dark phase of the moon to create something new and something powerful. We see that Mercury has now retrograded onto the world axis for the second time. And this is where, again, the thoughts that I am a co-creator, and are my thoughts stuck in the past? Are they stuck in what is erosive? Are they stuck in what I haven't gotten? Or am I focused more on releasing myself from that? And the release being carving out time, making time for the self. This is extremely powerful for my Cancers because that gives you the ability to truly show up in that nurturing, loving, healing energy. So this eclipse is going to illuminate, or this eclipse is going to bring in the opportunity. I should put this at 3:58. I don't know why I keep doing 3:57. Sorry. Because the degrees hit me, and this new moon is at the 9th degree, and the most of the energy that's going on for you right now is in your 9th house of Pisces. And so I feel like this is planting the seeds for belief in the self, understanding that the self then nurtures others in a more balanced way because it teaches how to not be overly selfless. Because being overly selfless actually creates resentment. It creates a feeling of being undervalued. And I think that's a little bit of the downfalls of any of the signs that are of service to other people, is to put other situations or people above the self. This is all about balance. There's no real healing. There's just balance and wisdom that's extracted through challenge. Okay. So again, I'm going to be doing separate videos on the eclipses and going into more detail. We will see on the 30th that not only will Mercury re-enter Pisces, we will see Neptune enter. Oh, let me go a little later in the day. I should have changed the time. And now we see it. For the first time in 164 plus years, Neptune has entered the first house of self. This is the marrying of spirituality with the self. This is the marrying of the transcendent soul's body with the physical body. This is going to go on for a couple of months until July, I believe. And then Neptune is going to retrograde. And over those months, Saturn is coming into a closer and tighter conjunction. So by the time we get to late June, July, we're going to see Jupiter have moved into your first house, bringing you expansion and bringing you opportunities that you cannot even imagine as you are willing to allow Saturn's old history of restriction, limitation, obligation, duty, endurance beyond your own personal pleasure, to balance that energy with the spiritual nature of what you want for yourself on a deep, deep level. And the retrograde here, Venus and Mercury at 29 and 28 degrees with the North Node at 27. It's like a sequential middle right now at the end of this month to be aware, to use the North Node's ravenous energy, to be ravenous about wanting to be aware of my thoughts, and my thoughts are things, and they're the bridge to my manifestation. So when my thoughts do not align to my manifestation, then neither does my self-worth or my ability to co-create, to bring it into the material straight up. Okay. I'm going to stop my share right now. I want to offer it this way for my Cancers, because a lot of the kind of things I look at when I look at astrology is from a co-creative perspective, that I am in alignment with my soul, and that my soul puts me through certain experiences so that I can demonstrate that alignment. And often that comes sometimes through a disruption. So as you've been experiencing Mars going through your first house, it could be the fertile ground that is rewriting the beliefs that the planets are offering you in your 9th and 10th house, meaning rewriting your beliefs and then the transformation of you into a more individualistic and brave in what you want, versus sort of that dutiful Cancerian energy of it depletes. You feel depleted if you don't refresh yourself, revigorate yourself. I can't find the word. My brain is sort of fried from all the videos I'm doing. But anyway, thank you for listening, Cancer, and for being patient with me. Take care of yourself, because March is a big month and it is teeing up a lot of the experiences we're going to have moving forward. And as we practice these new skills and we practice this co-creation, we become very powerful in understanding how the ebb and the flow works for our advantage, never for our disadvantage. All right, everybody, that's it. Thank you so much. Love you. Be sure to check the Venus Mercury retrograde videos. Join me Sunday mornings, 11 a.m. Pacific time, for our weekly transits. We're going to look at the transits and we do a reading. And then on Wednesdays between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., I answer your personal questions directly through the tarot. So you can come in, put your question in the chat. Those that donate through Super Chat or through Super Thanks, move to the top of the class. All right, everybody. We'll see you soon. Have a lovely March.